Pleasure to have with us here Dr. Ajay Pillai. He is the scientist in charge at the project management cell at NCCS in Pune. Ajay is an alumnus of the India Alliance. He was a grants manager at the India Alliance a couple of years back. And of course, today he heads up the project management cell at NCCS. Ajay has also been an incredibly valuable member of the conference planning committee for this year's conference. So Ajay will be chairing this session titled Adapting to Change, the Role of Research Management. Over to you, Ajay.
Thank you, Savita, so much. Okay, I hope you can now listen without the echo.
Yes, that's good.
Okay. So thank you so much. I'm using the laptop and desktop. I have some issues with the desktop. So thank you so much for the invitation, Savita, to chair this exciting session on adapting to change, the role of research management. We know that especially in the last few years, research offices has been put to test, and we're adapting to function to cater the funding priorities of funding agencies during the COVID pandemic, or recent revisions in goods and services procurement policies, and more recently with the implementation of the CNA for managing extramural grants. As a facilitation center, the research officers must adapt to the ever growing and ever changing demands to facilitate research management in the basic clinical or translational space. In today's session, we have three excellent speakers who had been successful in identifying the areas of adaptation required to strengthen the research offices. Dr. Nikhil Singla is the country director for the MORI India program. He would be sharing the insights, learnings, and skills required for the research management and the challenges in formulating and implementing the MORI India initiative. The talk would definitely be useful for the research managers community in learning to network and implement a larger program like the MORI India initiative. Dr. Praveen, the second speaker, is a project scientist at the BIRAC Bionest Incubation Center, the Indian Institute of Toxicology Research, Lucknow. We all know the role of incubation centers in nurturing startups. The incubation centers cater the capacity building needs to the growing number of biotech startups and innovators across India. In this presentation, he would discuss a framework for identifying gaps, particularly in the academy-industry interface, and will share his insights for boosting early-stage bio-enterprises in India, and thus strengthening the bio-entrepreneurship. We have the last speaker in this session, Dr. Madhuri Datta, who is currently the head Center for Operational Research Excellence at the George Institute of Global Health, New Delhi. She will share her experiences and views regarding the need for a research office to adapt to handle the external and internal research management demands, and an overview of the skills for the day-to-day work that help research office personnel to adapt quickly to change. So let's listen to her talk on setting up a successful research office through identifying the key components which we need to bring in for the ease of adaptability. So I think that this particular session on adaptability on research management has been very, very interesting. So thank you so much, and I'm excited to listen to the talks. Over to you, Savita. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ajay. Abdul, could I request you to play the videos for us, please? So we have actually pre-recorded the three presentations, and we're just going to play the recording. Our speakers are here with us, and once the recording comes to an end, they'll be available to interact with our attendees.
A very warm welcome to everyone. Greetings to the chair and colleagues on this session. My sincere thanks to the organizers of the IRMI Annual Conference 2022 for putting together this interesting program and giving me an opportunity to speak. So keeping in line with today's session objective of adapting to change, I'll just give you an overview of the new program that Emily University has established in India, which also widely coincided with the start of the pandemic, and how we have gone about establishing our activities. So as many of you would know, Emory University is based out of Atlanta, Georgia in the US. It's over a 150-year-old institution, which through its work has been focused to be in the service of humanity. And Emory has had long-standing partnerships in India. So to further build and strengthen these partnerships, Emory has recently established an independent legal entity, which I'll be referring to as Emory India. The major focus of this entity has been to enable a university-wide support. So it serves as a central platform through which anyone and everyone at the university across different schools, departments could engage with the Indian ecosystem. A key area of focus has been the work of the Emory Vaccine Center, which has also had long-standing engagement with India. So there is a joint lab between the Emory Vaccine Center and the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology in New Delhi. The work in this lab has been focused on infectious diseases research, and we have also done some critical work in the COVID-19 space at this joint lab. So this entity would also be focusing on expanding the work of the Vaccine Center in India and in the region. And of course, this ideation of setting this entity here in India is to also suggest Emory's long-term commitment to engaging with partners in India. So, given the theme of the session today, as I mentioned to you earlier, my start date with this new program was on April 1, 2020. When the world was shutting down, we were all getting into a lockdown modes. That's when, I was settling into this new role, and the idea was to go all out and make things happen. In fact, I was supposed to travel to Atlanta to have discussions with the leadership at the university, with various faculty members, to announce that this new entity has been formulated in India and how we could go about doing things. However, none of that was to happen. So, of course, neither could we announce the formal launch of this new program on the Emory side, and neither could we do things on the India side. So the idea was we would be holding a little conference, a little reception, seminar, which would help us in bringing together relevant stakeholders in India as well. But, of course, none of that happened. And as we all know, as the COVID pandemic started, all the focus shifted on the pandemic. It was once in a century problem that we were dealing with, and we were all trying to adjust to the new normal. Of course, travel restrictions came in, so none of the MA faculty could come in. The idea of having in-person discussion, understanding strengths on each side to make things happen, that also came to a complete halt. And because of all these reasons, our strategy and operational plans were put on a pause as well. A wonderful way to start a new assignment, a new program. But I think this is where, the training in research management became very critical, leveraging on our skills that we develop in the research management space, which is on our PhD work, and thereafter on the different things that we do related to business, operations, finance, communication. Those learnings really became very critical as we moved forward in this difficult time. And I think there were three key themes that I think helps in research management work. One is to be able to prioritize. Second is to be persistent with your plans, and then of course the patience in making them go through. So as I said, on the theme of prioritization, so given my role of expanding Emory's research footprint in India through impactful and useful partnerships, the idea first for me was to see, what synergies existed, what strong synergies existed on both sides that one could use to make things happen. So Emory has a lot of strength in the communicable and non-communicable disease space through its various research centers and programs. Emory has a lot of work happening in the translation research space through its vaccine center, through various programs related to drug development, its focus in clinical research, through its Hope Clinic and the Primate Center. EMRI, in fact, has been a central point for a lot of uh, clinical trials for vaccine candidates that were used for addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, including vaccines from Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Novavax, and others. Moreover, the EMRI healthcare network is one of the largest in the state of Georgia, and they have a lot of strengths that one could leverage to engage on the Indian side as well. And of course, the various schools, departments that EMRI has, which could be a driving force for partnerships in the education space also. Besides that, a lot of programs in innovation and entrepreneurship, a very robust Office of Technology Transfer, so opportunities to engage in the startup and entrepreneurial space as well in India, and some unique partnerships related to humanities, such as the EMRI-Tibet partnership. So based on these key areas in which there was strength and need on both sides, I think as in my role, I decided to focus on three pillars. So I have outlined them here. The first one was to the focus areas that we wanted to focus, that we wanted to put all our efforts in. The first one was to look at research collaborations, and in this space, vaccines, drugs, immunotherapies, and diagnostics were critical areas of focus. We also outlined some areas in the disease space, underlying on our strength in human immunology research. The second pillar was in the innovation and entrepreneurship space, where we thought we could do a lot of engagement in terms of cross-licensing of new research and outputs that is coming out from EMRI or labs in India. Engaging with the Office of Technology Transfer at EMRI and other incubation centers and places related to supporting startups and entrepreneurs. Product development opportunities on both sides. And the third pillar was education. So, EMRI as a university, as I mentioned, has a lot of strengths in that space, and we started looking at, more so given the pandemic, areas of continuing education, executive education, and non-degree programs. So with this focus, the idea was to then outline a partner network which could help us in formulating and implementing programs together in these areas. And the third critical area was looking at support and champions that could guide us in this difficult time to make things happen and to put our efforts in the right places where the impact is most and it creates useful output scientifically and in terms of, as I said, aligning with the university's mission of service to humanity. And I remain grateful to a lot of people in various positions who helped guide and made things happen for us as we moved forward. And as we were planning all these activities, I think a key theme that came out at the forefront for us was that all our partnerships should be focused on enabling innovation, on ensuring affordability and sustainability, and partnerships that create capacity in India and solutions for problems that are related to India and the globe. So with this in mind, I'll just quickly give you a few examples of some success that we have had. One of the key ones being the receipt of this Team Science Grant Award from India Alliance. This was to conduct cancer immunotherapy related research for treatment of lung cancer in India. In this program, we brought together partners from across India, the Tata Memorial Center in Mumbai, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Delhi, and from the EMRI side, we had our Winship Cancer Institute, which is a National Cancer Institute designated cancer center at EMRI, and the EMRI's Vaccine Center. And again, as I outlined in the previous slide, the major theme of enabling this joint program was to one, ensure affordability. So as we all know, cancer immunotherapy is a financially toxic approach to treatment currently in India. And because of which there is very low penetration of this highly critical methodology of treatment. So the idea was to see how we could ensure affordability through our research. And secondly, how we could create long-term capacity building in India for conduct of immuno-oncology research here. So and I think what I would like to highlight again here is the role of research management. I think which was very important in the success of this, of this application and for us to receive the award. So again, like I mentioned, so COVID, put a complete pause to a lot of ways in which we were used to working. Online became the new normal, and to bring people together, new people together who haven't worked as much before, and in difficult times where, like I said, the focus was completely on COVID in an area which was not directly helping in the COVID space, was very challenging. And I think that's where this research management role played a central pivoting point to first get an understanding of this opportunity, bring the partners together, helping in formulating the research focus and ideas, putting together the grant application. There were many a times where on both sides, given the tight timeline and the challenges, it was decided that maybe we should apply in the next round of the application. But I think again, that's where the persistence and patience that one develops in the role of research management became critical. And working with people from both sides, we were finally able to submit this application, go through all the various competitive rounds that the Team Science Grant Award involves, and receive this grant successfully, which was, I think, for me, a very critical example of how research management can make things happen and how critical the role is, where you understand the science, you understand the difficulties of working in a particular situation, and overcoming those difficulties through unique solutions to make the science happen, to make the impact that the science would then create for patients, for the population in India and across the globe. So here I have then further outlined some key activities based on the prioritization of our work that we are engaged in. In the interest of time, will not go into the details, but engaging across vaccines and immunotherapies with potential partners in Bangalore, including discussions with the government of Karnataka and other key institutions such as Indian Institute of Science, engaging in areas of vision research, genomics, other players in the cancer space, drug discovery and innovation, like I said, technology licensing and startups, engaging with private universities in India and other universities from the US who have operations in India, with other partners in the education space, including edtech companies, and also bringing to the forefront some key areas like artificial intelligence that are the next generation approaches for addressing, for creating solutions, and in which EMRI has significant strength. So while we were focusing on looking at solutions for the physical part of our being, as I mentioned, we have some unique partnerships in the humanities space, including the EMRI-Tibet partnership. So we also focused, especially given the impact of COVID-19 on mental health, to look at healing of the mind. So we organized a series of webinars, again adapting to the new normal that COVID provided, and leveraging on the strengths that this EMRI-Tibet program had, especially through its unique training in compassion and these other programs that they have also enabled in India. So this was something else that we took forward to address the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, as I mentioned, as we were doing all these potential partnerships, we have created a network which we can leverage on for doing our current activities in India and for opening up channels for future engagements in key areas of interest on both sides as well. And with this, I think I would just like to end on some key learnings that I have had in my last few years in the research management space. So I remember organizing one important stakeholder meeting in which somebody once mentioned to me, "What is the role of you guys? You have a PhD from some good institutions. You've done some good research work. So what are you guys doing now? Is it like, are you just event planners?" And that really hit me because like I mentioned when I highlighted the successful application we made for the Team Science grant. I think a research management role as it evolves and develops across the world and more so in India is very critical in making good science happen, in bringing the right people together, in creating interdisciplinary research. And over the years, some thoughts that I would leave the audience with is it's very important to understand what is your intent and goal in this role in the research management space. For me, coming back from the US to India, the idea was how I can leverage on my education and experience that I have had across different cultures, continents, to further strengthen the innovation and research ecosystem in India. And that is why, my engagement with EMRI and other roles that I have participated in India. So it's very important for us, for somebody to understand why they are in it, because that helps them with the motivation and drive to move forward. Of course, I think research management is a wonderful platform that gives you an opportunity to leverage a wide array of skills that you develop over the years in your different roles. And for me, it was technical, business, finance, legal, management. So I always end up saying in error that I am a master of all trades and jack of none. But I think this is a very unique opportunity that probably very few other career options provide us. And I think the third thing for me has been being very aware. Once you're aware of your vision, of your goal, it's very critical that you're aware of the cultural system that you're working in. Like I said, when we were bringing together the Team Science grant, we were working with people in the US, people across institutions, people in India, across time zones, across different priorities, across different needs. So it's very important that we understand that and address those needs. And of course, communication and analytical skills, again, that we can leverage from our previous experiences. And I think most importantly, it is critical to learn and enjoy. I think research management provides, again, a very beautiful opportunity to work with a diverse group of people, make interdisciplinary, focus areas. It somewhere also helps you in your entrepreneurial spirit as it gives you a platform for doing new things. And again, keeping in theme with the session, with the theme of the session, it can be a big catalyst for change and innovation. So with this, I would like to thank you all for your time and for listening. Thank you.
Hello all, this is Praveen here, and I would like to start by thanking the India Research Management Initiative for giving me an opportunity to present my ideas and views in this annual conference of research managers. In today's presentation, I'd like to discuss the role of bionists in advancement of bioentrepreneurship in India, with emphasis to the potentials of bionist of CSIR IITR Lucknow, with a disclaimer that the views and concepts outlined in this presentation is truly personal and it does not represent the broader interests and standards of my official affiliation as a scientist and a project manager of bionist of CSIR in the Institute of Toxicology Research Lucknow. To give you a glimpse about the Bionist program and its capabilities in India, Bionists are a group of biotechnology incubators preliminary funded by Department of Biotechnology, BIRAC initiative, and it is promoted and meant to nurture the entrepreneurship for scaling technologies. And to the date, it has supported more than 60 incubators under this scheme across India, and with the funding support of about 3.2 billion Indian rupees committed under the scheme. And it was successful in establishing about 640,000 square feet of incubation area, and to the date it has supported around 684 incubators under various schemes of BIRAC programs nurtured through the BioNest incubator. You can see all the details in the BIRAC website rooted under the BioNest program, and on the right hand side you can see the BioNest facility that is established under this program at CSIR IITR. To give you a little bit more details about the BioNest program at IITR, it is having some salient key features, such as it is one of the largest BioNest incubation facility in the state of Uttar Pradesh in terms of the total incubation space dedicated for this program, and it is the first BioNest facility established in any of the CSIR system. With a unique technical and scientific strength on toxicological aspects, and it was established in the year of March 2020 with the primary funding support of BIRAC. The funding program has rooted under four vertical pillars of focus, and it is aimed to provide the integrated platform to develop and translate the technological advancement in any of the four vertical pillars. It is agrobiotechnologies, pharma and biopharma, food and cosmetics, as well as the wastewater management and environmental solutions. Apart from these four vertices, the institute is also focusing on implementing the concepts of 3 Rs, that is to refine, replace and reduce the usage of animal experimentation, especially in the toxicological domain, and advance the biological experimental process in order to enhance the precision, accuracy and reproducibility, as well as to cut the time, cost and effort for doing such kind of sophisticated toxicological and biological experiments, and in also in align with the United Nations SDG goals to provide a good health and well-being, and also to ensure the safety of the life below and above the soil and water, and also to provide peace, justice and strong building up strong institutions. So as per the parent institution vision, also BioNest is also thriving hard on implementing the concepts of 3 Rs in our innovation modalities as well. To expand it a bit more, the Center for Innovation and Translation Research, which is the parent hub of all the innovation and translation efforts of CSIR IITR, under which all the sophisticated analytical and instrumentation facilities housed with, and it is also comprising of the advanced imaging facility and industry labs and MSME startup supports in the niche areas that I explained earlier, and all the innovations that is having some translational potentials will be housed under various schemes of funding supports that is available in the institution. What I mean to say over here is that apart from the basic responsibility of managing all the managing and hand holding all the day-to-day running as activity, being a national laboratory with a GLP enabled accreditation, a tenure over here as a research manager, as a BioNest manager would be also challenging in documenting all the key aspects related to each and every experimental procedure that is involving the translational research aspects, and it is also allied to the area of expertise on toxicological studies as specified in the GLP certificate to test the acute toxicity, inhalation toxicity, skin irritation, skin sensitization assays and all. So for that all we can provide the incubation manager and researcher who is involving in these aspects can provide the key scientific inputs, and we can handhold the innovators and the young budding research entrepreneurs to engage them with the correct scientific faculty or the mentors who are engaging in the institution, and also to provide the directional support in thriving their research funding, managing their day-to-day activities, whether they are housed inside the incubation facility or availing any of the acceleration programs or associated incubation programs under the scheme of BioNest. So all the analytical and experimentation facilities being in a CSIR institution, it is routed through the analytics CSIR resource facility, which is a nodal decentralized portal where each one who is interested or enrolled with the program can use any of this sophisticated instrumentation facility by logging into the analytics CSIR profile, which also will be documented and as a part of responsibility of a research and innovation manager of the center. As I explained earlier, this is housed under the Technology Development Innovation Center of the institution, where the SITAR is also a part of. So, apart from the SITAR Innovation Translation Research, it is also hubbed with the National Facility for Food Safety, National Facility for Nanotoxicological Analysis and Testing. Both are funded by CSIR, and also it is a nodal referral center for the National Reference Laboratory in Food Safety. Both are accredited by FSSAI, which is also a part of the Center for Innovation and Translation Research. Apart from this, all facilities, we are into the Environmental Monitoring and Intervention Hub also, where the key focus is on the environmental domain, wastewater, decentralized analysis, as well as the air quality monitoring analysis as well. With that, basic architecture BioNest was also awarded with, and being a part of this technological development and innovation center at the institution, where the innovation manager is having a responsibility to overlook all the national nodal programs housed under this hub. To explain a bit more about the operational strategy that employed at the BioNest of CSIR IITR, we have three mode of operandi where the resident incubating program can house the physical presence of the incubators and the startups, MSMEs who are engaging with any of the key thematic thrusts physically to house under this program and take the office space and the incubation space at the main campus of CSIR IITR, where the incubation manager will be the direct first point contact where the incubators can interact with. We have also an associated incubator program where the physical presence of the incubator will not be there, but all the other domains will be facilitated and served with. And also we have a facility model program where the stakeholders who are interested only on the toxicological safety and screening platforms will be facilitated by the analytics CSIR domain, as well as the service model, where they can come and do the experimentation and get it certified in the NABL GLP accredited facility, where also the innovation manager will be the first point of contact, where the MSMEs and startups who are having some case studies or specific problem statements will be addressed to the concerned faculty and take up their problem statements to an innovation level or a product development level, to from ideation to market reaching potential. So to say about some of the operational highlights and the success stories of the BioNest of CSIR IITR, we are proud to say that it is the first institution of the country where taking care of the community distribution of the disinfectant solution right after the first surge of COVID in March 2020, where the frontline warriors were supplied free of cost with the WHO specified sanitation solution, where the country was totally unaware of how to formulate it and how to disseminate the solution in a rapid way. That is the need of the hour at that time. We were able to facilitate it under the BioNest program, and it was supplied under various nodal agencies of the government in regional and national level. And we were also fortunate to take part in the innovation hackathons at the time in COVID-19, where you can see electrolytic oxygenator generator was also a part of innovation that is alpha prototype was developed under the BioNest program, and it was pitched in the Nidhi for COVID-2 drive of the DST NSTEB supported pitch hackathon program. And also you can see on the right side, this is a validation of the disinfectant solution developed by one of our incubator in a high security zone of Delhi at the 74th Independence Day celebration of the country. So with all the operational highlights, we can, at the time we were also facilitated the rapid screening and sequencing activities as per the national need, where all the molecular biology facilities of the institution were translated as a kind of a sequencing and screening service, and where the innovation manager was also involved in the role of facilitating the screening and sequencing activity of the center. So, being a innovation manager of the center, I was also fortunate to take part in the in-house activities for capacity building and entrepreneurship promotion, where we arranged a monthly orientation programs for the graduate scholars. This is a regular practice where every month we will be having orientation with the graduate scholars, incubators, and associated researchers to ignite their potential on, the research entrepreneurship habit, to inculcate them in the translational research domain. So we have also formulated an institutional research innovation program, especially for the women candidates who are pursuing the PhD and postdoc level of research at the institution. And with this in-house activities also, we were able to network with the associated sister laboratories of CSIR in housed at Lucknow, and also all the national laboratories and the medical schools housed in and around Lucknow and Uttar Pradesh, and also the incubators, the biotech incubator of Lucknow, and all the ICR and ICMR national institutions housed at in and around the ecosystem. We were also fortunate to be invited under the flagship program of DBT. BIRAC celebrated the 10th year of BIRAC, and also the tagline of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and 80 years of impact, where the first biotech startup conclave was housed in last June of 2022, where the innovation showcase was focused in front of the Honorable Prime Minister of India, and we are committed to deliver the key thrust areas in order to enabling the startups and innovations for promoting the entrepreneurship. What I mean to say here also is that rather than a research manager, an innovation manager, as in my experience, will be a very considerable job for a promised career option for the budding researchers who are listening this presentation, and to take up that as a career option. So that will allow us to think a little bit out of the box and to facilitate the needed in a better way, allied with the countries and the national mission programs under various domains that is supported by ministries and science and technology departments. With this, I would like to conclude here, and would like to thank the initiative of IRMI for networking all the similarly minded research managers and innovation thinkers to under one umbrella, and would like to house under and work under all of you under this initiative for bridging and expanding our knowledge and widening our knowledge, and to cumulatively dissipate the cumulative wisdom to reaching into the needies as much as possible. You can reach us in any of the contact informations provided down over here, and would like to thank you again, all of you, for this opportunity to present over here. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
I'm Madhuri. I head the Center for Operational Research Excellence, or CORE India, for the George Institute for Global Health, which is based out of New Delhi. I'm also an IRMI DBT Wellcome Trust Fellow. I'm very grateful for the IRMI Fellowship and for the IRMI grant. I'm also an assistant professor affiliated with the Prasanna School of Public Health, Manipal Academy of Higher Education. And today I will be presenting, a research survey data of research managers, which is called the RAP survey. I'm sure many of you have taken it this year. And the task force members of the RAP survey are Simon Kerridge from the University of Kent, Melinda Fisher from the Clemson University, USA, and Cristina Oliveira from Nova University, Lisbon, Portugal. So the theme for the talk is adapting to change, and the title is Always Ready: How do research offices survive and adapt? So why is this particular topic very interesting? Especially I'm very interested in this topic because I have lived through COVID and seen how research priorities change and how that influences research organizations. And similarly, changing global and national research priorities have actually influenced research institutes for a long time. If we look at the history of science, this continues with an upskilling or need for upskilling of the research managers as well as the colleagues and workforce in the research institute, and also leads to organizational security. How do we change and adapt with the changing scenario? Now, if we look at a paper that was published in JRA by a few research managers, what they did was they identified the external changes and influencers like funding opportunities or the funding scenario, or changing global priorities from one, say, aspect of disease to another, and then rising inflation and competition to get the best workforce in institutes. So these were the external challenges. And the internal challenges were grouped. The biggest probably influencing factor is the leadership within an organization, because the leadership has its own priorities and strategies on how to progress with the institute. Then attrition rate of the workforce also is an influence on how the conduct of the or operations of an organization is affected. And then organizational policies, reduced procurement because of the inflation, and then capacity building or the capacity of the skilled workers that are there within the organization. So these are all internal factors. So what is essential to adapt? For continuing business as usual for any organization through the changing environment, we just have to keep continuing to submit competitive proposals and build credibility of the institute. We also have to build capacity of researchers or upskill them so that they can take on the new challenges, be well versed with new regulations and compliances which are out there. There's a lot of compliance now or a lot of new policies happening for data sharing. So an organization, a research organization, has to be at par with these changing policies, and then identify different ways to map impact of the work that we are doing. And who best to anchor all these activities other than the research office? Why the research office? Because the research office and research managers have an oversight on research activities that are happening within the organization. They have an oversight on institutional priorities mandated by the senior management. They know how to implement these projects because that's what they do. Whatever is planned for the institute is implemented by research managers and administrators. They understand the research capacity needs of the researchers within the organization. They are the ones who conduct in many research organizations capacity building training programs. They are aware of the policies and regulations because they need, to comply with the funding and also post-award processes. And then knowledge of global and national research environment. They are also, because they have a community of research managers, or they understand the trends in what's happening outside the organization, they have that knowledge. So I would really advocate for the research office to take up the lead in change management or adaptability of an organization. Now, what are the tools for change management? There are a lot of frameworks, but what I liked was the prosci model because it gives two sort of pillars. One is how an organization can change, but then it also lays emphasis on an individual. So unless every individual in an organization is willing to change, an organization cannot change. That is the model. So under organizational change, there are three steps. One is, the planning or the preparation approach. One is the implementation or managing change, and one is sustainable outcomes. So under preparation or planning, you have to define the success. So the organization has to say, this is my goal. This is my new goal that's going to happen because of the changing research scenario. And then they have to define the impact also. Like, if this is my goal, what is it I'm going to measure against it? How have I done well for reaching the goal? and then define the approach that they will take towards meeting that goal. Implementation again, plan and act, track performance, learn from what is happening, adapt actions, right? So you do some process and then see how it is impacted, and then you take the learnings forward or you revise it. But then last and most important is sustainability activities also. So you review your performance maybe once a year or once in 2 years or once in 3 years, and you see what you have done well. Have you been able to change with changing scenario? You take the best learnings, you activate sustainment, and you transfer ownership. That means you're building a second line of people who can continue the work and a backup for the organization. But most importantly, this is the individual area of growth. Unless each individual in an organization is aware that there is a need for change, there is a desire to participate in support the change, or knowledge on how to change, or they have knowledge on how to change and ability to implement desired skills and behaviors and reinforce to sustain the change. Unless every individual is at par with this ADKAR model, for an organization, it is very difficult to bring about any change. So, how does an organization make sure that every individual within an organization understands that there is a need for change? Transparent communication, and sort of very every month giving them some sort of news about what's happening, what's the senior management thinking. So those are things that make an individual aware of where this institution wants to go, or how are they meeting change, or sort of a two-way relationship where the individual also can come and tell the senior management of their concerns. So these are some of the ways, but I'm sure that every organization has their own. I also wanted to see what research managers think about change management. And so this first RAP survey that was done in 2016 was to compare whether research managers thought hard skills or soft skills were important, hard skills meaning technical skills. In research management, there were 2,691 research managers who participated in that particular survey. And the interesting finding was that between early career research managers and mid to senior career research managers, there was a 19% increase in the importance of adaptability, 38% increase in the 38% increase in initiative taking, and 39% increase in decision making. So that means that as we grow higher from early career to mid career to senior level research managers, these skills of adaptability or change, they become more important to us. So interestingly, early career research managers chose self-starter over adaptability, which we've all done in our career. And this paper by Shimazoe is very insightful, and I would recommend everybody to go through this paper. The references here. Now, coming to the RAP survey, I've already told you 2016 we started. Now we are in the third iteration, 2021, that most of you have, I hope, taken the survey. Simon Kerridge is throughout these RAP surveys, he's been the one who is the PI, and he's sort of started this survey. In the third iteration, it's me, Melinda, and Christina who have joined him. So the first RAP survey was to compare skills and experience. The second RAP survey was to look at the impact research managers are bringing to the research community. And the third RAP survey is how I became a research manager. So in the first we had 2691 responses. In the second we had 4324, and in the last one we have over 5,000 responses. Which is great, and we are analyzing these in detail. So coming to the first RAP survey, what were some, this is just a list of some of the hard skills and soft skills that were compared. There's a lot of other choices. Hard skills were like proposal development, project management, translation service. Soft skills were team management, communication, collaboration, and problem solving, conflict resolution, decision making. What was the result? Now, this is the analysis for only the US data. As you all know, SRAI and NCURA are probably the oldest research management associations. in the world. And so there is a lot more people in the US who take this opportunity of becoming an RMA because there's a steady state sort of career path for them. Now, if you look at this grade bar, this is they say that hard skills are important. Some of them say that hard skills are very important, but very few say that they are extremely important. And so this was grouped between leaders in research management versus managers and operational, just to get like a flavor of who's at what stage and what do they think is essential. Now, if you look at soft skills, on the other hand, you will see that this yellow bar, which means extremely important. So, soft skills has been considered extremely important in all the three categories, followed by very important. So, there is a stark comparison between hard and soft skills. Now, if you look at the prosci model, you will see that the skills that they think bring about change management align very well with what the RMA thinks, are needed for becoming an RMA. So, communication, active listening, articulate messaging to a variety of audience, and you can actually read through this. These are some of the skills that prosci thinks are very important for bringing about change at an individual level. And I've just showed you how RMAs also think the same. Now, in conclusion, research office personnel can support an organization to adapt. Organization framework for change management includes realistic planning, implementation, and measurement of achievement. Individuals in an organization are key to change management, and soft skills of research office personnel equip them with better abilities to adaptability and change management. And I would like to thank the IRMI and the IRMI network, each of you, and the George Institute and the Center for Operational and Research Excellence, my division. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want to connect with me, this is my email ID.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Savita, for that talks. I think there are some questions in the chat box. I think uh, Nikhil has a question here. So Emory is a big institute.
Ajay,
Yeah,
sorry to
yeah.
interrupt. Maybe we could request Nikhil, Praveen, and Madhuri to also turn on their cameras.
Oh, yeah, sure, sorry. Uh, Nikhil, Praveen, and Madhuri, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so one question. Can we go ahead with the questions then for a few minutes?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so one interesting question here is for Nikhil. So you were in India without any face-to-face communication with the international research managers or scientists. What methods did you use to make the researchers in various departments more aware of the potential areas that Indian institutes were working upon? And how did you develop upon the interest further? And this is very interesting for us to understand how did you basically figure out a way to network sitting here. So Nikhil, can you please highlight on this?
Sure. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you so much for this session. And again, thanks for the question, Radhita. I think, the work, like I mentioned, when we started, the whole pandemic thing started, and I think travel restrictions were a major hindrance in our engagement. So I think what I have done to overcome some of those challenges were, in phases as the COVID evolved. Of course, the first phase when COVID was at its peak, the focus was on areas that were of priority for us, which was biomedical research, vaccines, immunology research, and areas related to it. So to understand the needs on both sides, that would be of interest. What I did was to start reaching out to the head of the departments of these key areas of interest at EMRI, and apprise them about this new entity that has been established, and through them also get an understanding of some researchers who were already engaged in the Indian ecosystem. So then also establish calls and discussions with them to understand if they had any particular needs or wanted to engage in any particular collaboration here. And of course, as I was engaging with colleagues on the Indian side as well, if there were any specific areas of collaborations that were being suggested from their side, then I would specifically reach out to those faculty members or researchers on the EMRI side as well. And in fact, the engage since Aradhita has asked this, and we have had some engagements with IGIB as well. So that started actually. I'm sorry, Aradhita, didn't want to put you on a spot, but our Dean of School of Medicine has opened up a center for research and repurposing of drugs, and there was very high interest. And so while his work has been focused on a number of different disease areas, but COVID has been also something that is of priority to that center. So in fact, I had reached out to Dr. Anurag Agarwal, who was chairing from the Indian side work on repurposing of drugs, and that's how our engagement and discussions started beyond that to things that we could do with IGIB as well. So I think, like I said, so prioritizing again, that was the need of the hour in different phases as the pandemic evolved. Strengths that could be leveraged on both sides, and accordingly then reaching out to the appropriate faculty and researchers.
Sure. Thanks, Nikhil. So Praveen, we listened to the Bioness talk from you. So just for curiosity, so when you talk about the success of bio incubators, do you also have to keep in mind about the startups which are exiting and will become mature as potential independent entities? And what might be the sustainability plans for a incubation center? I mean, these are 4 research managers who are interested to become incubation managers. Can you just throw some light on these aspects?
Sure, sir. First of all, I would like to apologize because I am in midst of a emergency travel, as I rightly pointed out in the presentation also, as a challenge of a research manager, because it's another meeting that we want to coin in Delhi. So in between that, I'm in the metro. Apologize for that.
We can take up this question between 5 to 6. No worries about it. Yeah, sure, no problem.
I'll answer that.
Sure. Sorry, Praveen. Yeah. So
thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thanks, Praveen. So we will get connected with Praveen between 5 to 6 in the informal networking. Because he's traveling on emergency. So thanks, Praveen. So Madhuri, a quick question to you is, about the setting up of research office at George Institute of Global Health. And you talked about transfer of ownership at some point of time, that is towards there is a point where the research office matures and we should be ready to transfer the ownership or transfer the major responsibilities, the next breed. So how do you basically do it, or what is the criteria which generally research offices do for transferring this ownership, which is very important for all the research offices? And can you just throw some light on how does a research office sustain? I know that there are some talks later on, but in your views, can you just, in few sentences, can you just explain?
Thank you, Ajay. So the thing is that, from my own personal experience, probably I can respond to this. I joined George Institute in 2018, and I was the only research manager at that time in the India office. And so my job was basically to support researchers in pre-award processes. So once I got to sort of understand the entire process, for a research manager, I think it is important, at least for me, it was important to also look at what else I could do within research management once I had learned the sort of fundamental, roles. And then there were a lot of things that emerged in those 2 years in terms of we needed support for data management, we needed support for statistics, we needed to streamline operational research work. And so with the research funding or the pre-award support, it was just getting too much for me. And at that time, the Institute thought of investing in more, expanding the research managers team. And I was very fortunate that Dr. Sara Iqbal joined my team for the pre-award, for the pre-award processes. So she sort of took over the entire thing. And then we also needed a person who could guide us in, measuring the quality of what we were doing in our processes. That was important because we were doing too many other things, and slowly we also invested in getting Anshuman Shekhar, who's the quality assurance officer for us. We also have Rajeshri Sanyal now, who works at majorly at a CRTP, like a clinical research training center, right? And so I think the group is expanding as the responsibilities are increasing. I think the institute has also evolved, recognizes that there is a need for research office. There is a need for research managers who can do different things, not just the same thing. And this is the institutional thing, but at a level of research managers ourselves also, we also need to continuously grow and diversify our interest. I mean, I don't see many of our peers, like you, for instance, who has also gone through that path, right? So it's important to sort of keep that enthusiasm also, instead of just getting into a routine and doing everything for 10, 15 years. And so that's my answer. Sorry.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I think we just got extra 5 minutes. So thank you for wonderful talks. Thanks Madhuri, thanks Nikhil, and thanks Praveen for such a wonderful talk. An excellent start for IRMI, and thank you Savita for the session. There are some questions which we'll take between 5 to 6. Amit has some questions on the chat box. We'll definitely take between 5 to 6 p.m. today. Thank you Savita, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ajay and Nikhil, Madhuri, Praveen. Lovely to have you here today. And look forward to seeing you at the session later in the evening as well, if possible.